Straight to a Fox News alert as tens of thousands of Israeli soldiers are getting ready for a full-scale invasion of Gaza as airstrikes have continued throughout the night.
IDF issuing a statement saying, quote, forces are currently preparing to implement a wide range of operational offensive plans, which can include combined and coordinated strikes from the air, sea, and land, end quote. Hamas is responsible for the killing of at least 1,300 Israelis and 29 U.S. citizens. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu assuring his troops that more fighting is on the way.
You ready for the next stage? The next stage is coming.
The New York Times reports that Israeli forces have delayed their initial plans as weather conditions in the area could worsen.
Meanwhile, a second U.S. aircraft carrier is on its way to the Mediterranean Sea in what Defense Secretary Lord Austin calls a show of force, as the U.S. continues to affirm its support for Israel.
Despite that, Iran is now warning Israel to stop the fighting immediately, saying any further action they take will cause a, quote, huge earthquake for Israel if their operations in Gaza continue. And now let's get to Trey Yingst, who's live on the ground in southern Israel. Trey, what's the latest?
Yeah, hey, guys, you can see it's a stormy morning here in southern Israel. We're next to a military base. A lot of traffic headed into the base as reservists show up for duty. Overnight, more Israeli airstrikes targeted positions in the northern and central part of the Gaza Strip as civilians continue to evacuate south. This is a significant development because there was a lot of buzz last night. The invasion could start overnight. The weather could have something to do with it. You can see it's quite rainy here. And you do have a lot of those ground troops and infantry troops that are in dirt areas that are now turning to mud. All of this a part of the calculation for the Israelis as they monitor the situation here in the south. Rocket fire continuing into Israeli population centers, but also the situation in the north. We saw today 3 anti-tank guided missiles fired into Israel from southern Lebanon. The Israelis responding, striking Hezbollah targets inside Lebanon, but yet another indication the Lebanese militant group may try to get involved in this fight, and something that Israel worries about, because if they do get involved at a full-scale level, it is something that will overwhelm Israel's air defense system and create a massive, massive problem for this army as they try to first destroy Hamas and also try to rescue those hostages. Guys?
You know, Trey, I was scrolling through my X feed this morning, and I came across a tweet from you just about 30, 45 minutes ago that really stopped me down. And while you're talking about the attacks in the north, Trey, you said on X there's an understanding on the ground that Israel-Gaza could just be the beginning. Look at the amount of American military assets headed this direction, the evacuation of U.S. citizens by sea, Iranian foreign minister meeting with leaders of Hamas, uncertain days, and, of course, there's also, as you point out, the attacks from Hezbollah. What is the feeling of what is about to happen in the region?
Yeah, look, yesterday I'll point you to a meeting that took place in Doha between the foreign minister of Iran and Ismail Haniyeh, the leader of Hamas. This meeting took place in a very friendly tone. It was something that was seen across the Middle East as yet another indication that Iran had advanced knowledge of what took place in southern Israel, that massacre last weekend. But remember, Iran just yesterday said they will be forced to get involved in this fight if the ground operation into Gaza moves forward. The ground operation into Gaza is absolutely moving forward. It is not a question of if, but rather when. So when that does happen, Israel has to be braced for not only rocket and missile fire from Lebanon, but also the fact that Iran could fire on the Jewish state. They've got intercontinental ballistic missiles. They could hit Israeli targets. And it's a real concern for Israel as they try to work through the situation here in the south.
And Trey, that ground offensive that you say it's not if but when, I'm hearing conflicting reports about what the objective for Israelis would be, that there's a sense that the idea of holding it is almost untenable. I'm hearing deadlines of 18 months. If you're talking about 18 months on a ground invasion, that's incredibly significant. So this delay, is it really for weather in your sense there? You said it was, dicey today. And what's your sense of what their objective is right now?
Yeah, look, in terms of objectives, they are going to enter the Gaza Strip and they're going to hold territory. The amount of troops that we've seen here is unlike anything I have seen in the past. We are talking about tens of thousands of infantry troops. They're going to first, let me take you through this. This is important, actually. They're going to first go in with bulldozers, D9 bulldozers, to ensure that they can get rid of any roadside bombs or booby traps on the way into Gaza. Then they're going to take in the tanks and the APCs, followed by the infantry troops. This is a coordinated effort by the Israelis. And once they get in, they're not just simply going to destroy a few targets and leave. They're going to hold territory. And part of what's taking place is a preparation for that. I'm going to put a jacket on here. It's quite rainy, as you can see. But part of what's taking place is preparation for that. And when you look at the fire along the border, it is really just clearing the path for what is to come. The Israelis understand once they get inside Gaza, they're going to need to hold buildings. They're going to be facing forces like Hamas and Islamic Jihad that understand this territory very well. They're going to be popping out of tunnels, firing RPGs, hand grenades, small arms, and they have to be prepared for all of this. They will be sitting ducks surrounded by enemy forces. And we know from past conflicts around the world, an insurgency is one of the most difficult things to defend against, and that's exactly what they'll be facing when they're inside the Gaza Strip.
Trey, as we talk about this war expanding and this imminence of the ground invasion, can you tell us any more about the civilians? Because I'm hearing conflicting reports about whether they can get out, whether Hamas is blocking them from getting out, or whether the countries from which they're supposed to exit from are blocking that exit.
Yeah, so the Israelis have opened up 2 evacuation corridors in Gaza. Basically, when I say opened up, I mean they've agreed not to strike those corridors. And they're telling all civilians, not just in Gaza City, but in the entire northern part of the Gaza Strip, they must evacuate south. And if they don't, they are at risk of being killed when the Israelis enter the Gaza Strip. And so we've seen the images, thousands of people heading south, trying to get out of the way toward the city of Han Yunis, the second largest city in Gaza, and even further south to the city of Rafah, near the Egyptian border. What is of note here, though, is Hamas. We had reporting that indicated Hamas was keeping people from leaving their houses before Israeli airstrikes. Well, the Israeli military now says Hamas is keeping people from driving south in some areas and even tried to set up roadblocks. All of this is a concern because you've got 2 million people inside Gaza. The vast majority are not militants. The death toll among civilians, women and children, is rising rapidly. And there are very concerning and real reports from inside Gaza of people running out of not just food, but also water. And so there's a humanitarian crisis developing in parallel to what's taking place. And a solution needs to rise to the surface to help get those civilians out of the way so the Israelis can operate and do the job that they say they plan to do, which is destroy Hamas and try to rescue those hostages.
Well, Trey, we'll let you get out of that rain, get dry for a little bit. We'll check in with you a little bit later in the hour. Thank you.